Gamers all around the universe. Today we're going to talk about round 2 of Golden League. You guys liked the preview last time, or review, whatever you want to call it, so I was like, oh, let's do it again. So, for those that don't know, maybe you're not quite in tune with what happened, what the rules were. Week 1, Week 2, and Week 3 of Golden League, or round 1, round 2, and round 3, have a completely different set of rules. And for Week 2, the top 3 civs on that map were banned. So it was called an off-meta tournament, right? Because each round, like this mini tournament lasts 2 weeks. So we have Week 1 bans and then Week 2 bans. So for Week 1, this was before the Mangonel nerf patch. These were the bans. And this was, pretty much agreed with all the players. No one had any issue with it. And what happened was, right after Week 1 of round 2 was done, Mangonels got nerfed and players only had like 2 days to play on the new patch. And then the players that were not still in the tournament were voting which civs should be banned for the final week, right? Here you see Week 2 bans, and there are a lot of things changed. Some things that remain the same. So basically, Week 2 was only top 6 players. It was me, Marine Lord, Lucifer, Demazin, Viper, and Lenok. Everyone else, like next top 20 players or something, top 15, voted for which civs are going to be banned, because they didn't want us to vote so we don't influence the, influence our own, I guess, maps that we're going to play. So there were some issues, I would say. I talked with a few players, and some bans were weird. Some bans were, just not there for the civs that were the best in that map. And I think this has a lot to do with players, like I said, only had 2 days of playing on the Mangonel patch, and then they had to do a vote. So I think players didn't play enough to figure out which civ is best on which map. So we kind of got some weird results, and some civs that maybe shouldn't be as active in the final week were. Now, regarding the tournament itself, I'm going to continue in this a bit later. Marine Lord from the winners bracket, again, it was double elim. Winners bracket beat Puppy Pop, beat Luciferon, then beat me in the winners bracket, and I beat Brat, Wham, and Viper to advance. I dropped down in the losers. Demazim had a pretty good run. Vortex dropped out very, very early. B dropped out early. Recon dropped out, and then in the losers bracket, Viper beat Lenok, Demazim beat Luciferon, and then Viper beat Demazim, and then I lost to Viper 3-1. So I ended up third again, but I am qualified for the main event, which was my main goal. Now, Viper beat Marine Lord in the finals 4-0, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So if you look here, overview, top 8 qualify based on points, qualify for the elite playoffs, which this is the prizes for that, right? The big cash. So right now I am secured, I'm qualified. Even if I think completely lose to in round 3 on Star, I think I still am qualified. Some people did the math, and basically there's no option for any players to do well in a specific way where I'm not through. Okay, so I'm 100% qualified together with Viper and Marine Lord. So that's amazing, that's great. There's going to be another round 3 next week. But like I said, even if I do poorly, I'm still qualified for main event, which was my main goal. Let's go back. So what happened in the tournament with me? Well, this was played, so these games were played before the Mangonel nerf, and me and Viper had like some long games. I had a wonder victory against Viper on Highview because he didn't see it. Had some mech games with a lot of Siege on King of the Hill, and then Boulder Bay was just Mongol versus Mongol Mirror, so nothing weird, nothing special, and then I lost the first game. And then after the Mangonel nerf, I played against Marine Lord, and I ended up playing very, very aggressive all the games. Like I just went all out. On Dry Arabia, I felt like I just played very poorly, and I just kind of got picked apart. So that was probably the best game for me to learn from what I did wrong. Mongolian Heights, I tried to do like a proxy archer ranges all in. I don't know why, it just felt like all inning that week or that match, and ended up winning Highview, and then Altai I lost, and I dropped down to losers bracket. So not much to say there. Like it's one of those things where I personally think that Marine Lord, Viper, and I are probably top 3, and I think that based on playing against them on the ladder in the tournaments, I think the best of 3s or best of 5s that we have can go either way. And like for example, one funny thing that happened. So last week, or sorry, in the round 1, I beat Marine Lord in the winner's bracket, and then I ended up losing to him in the loser's bracket 3-2. This week, I beat Viper in the winner's bracket, and then I ended up losing to Viper in the loser's bracket. So that's the double elim. Basically, both players that ended up, so Marine Lord won round 1. I beat him in round 1, but then I lost in the loser's bracket against him. And in round 2, I beat Viper, but then I lost in the loser's bracket, and he ended up winning the whole thing. So, or that round. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, that's double elimination. If it was single elimination, the story would have been different. But rules are rules, right? And then when I played against Viper, I just played bad, in my opinion. First game was very good. It was, for me, it was a very long game, macro game. I was super fine with it. It went really well. It was like 1 hour and 10-minute game. Boulder Bay, I was extremely far ahead and threw the game completely. So that should have been a 2-0. And then once you're up 2-0, momentum is on your side. Maybe it would have been a 3-0. Maybe I would have lost 3-2. Who knows? But I ended up losing 3-1. Last 2 games especially were just kind of bad for me. And I thought played really, really well. I think once he won this game, like the favor turned into his side. And he just played a lot better. I'm not going to cope. I'm not going to take anything away from the Viper, by the way, or Marine Lord. They both played really well. I thought that in those series, I overall played worse. They played better, so they deserve to win. But that weekend that we played was 6 months since my dad passed away, and I was just, in a very bad place mentally. I couldn't really focus. I couldn't really play properly. I didn't really prepare anything for the best of 5s. I didn't really think about what I'm going to pick. That's why against Marine Lord, I just did stuff on the fly. And that's why I played complete aggro. Like, I played passive in game 1, and then 3 games I just all in, which, as you guys know, I don't really do. But, like I said, I didn't prepare, wasn't in the right state of mind, so I just ended up all inning, which again, it's not like I never all in on the ladder. I sure do. And I'm just saying that my head and my mind wasn't in the right space to actually play, and I knew like a few weeks before that 6 months is gonna happen on the weekend, and I was like, well, it is what it is. I wasn't upset about losing because I knew I wouldn't be able to play too well, and the results happened, right? And again, not to cope, the players that beat me played extremely well, and yeah, they just played way better. Especially Viper, I thought after like last 2 games, he played much better than I did. So he deserves to win. And then in the finals, Viper just absolutely demolished Marine Lord. It was a 4-0. And yeah, I think this is the first time Marine Lord got completely wrecked 4-0. I think he was also surprised. And yeah, like I said, Viper, I think, played pretty well. He's been practicing a lot, and clearly, it's paid off. Like, he beat Vortex, lost to me, but then he beat Lenok, he beat the Muslim, he beat me, and then he beat Marine Lord, which is like, he cleaned up all the top players. So, you can't really take that away from him, right? He's obviously fucking good. So yeah, Viper's improved a lot. And this is my opinion. Maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not. I think Viper has the same opinion. I'm not sure about Marine Lord because he's always trolling. But I think that Viper, Marine Lord, and I can beat each other. Like, in my eyes, in my opinion, it's 50-50. It depends a lot about civs. It depends a lot about like one mistake, and the other player just takes off with the game. So I would say it's very close. Although Viper clearly here was, wrecked us pretty hard. So let's go back to the civs. So once these were out on Wednesday, I think. So then we had like 3-4 days to 3 days, basically 4 days to prepare, with having in mind that these civs are banned on these maps. And I think Viper prepared the best by far. He committed to practicing English insane amounts. He practiced English and French, I think, a lot. And Marine Lord and I think took more of a like a bigger spectrum of which civs we were gonna play. And I think Viper only focused on 2-3 civs, probably 2 the most. And it worked out because French and English were open on pretty much every map. French wasn't open on Boulder Bay, and English wasn't open on Mongolian Heights. So basically, with him preparing those 2 civs, even if you banned, let's say, English on Highview, he can just pick French. If you ban French, he can pick English. And that's exactly what he did. So he had a good plan going into it. He practiced those civs quite a bit, and well, it clearly worked out. I think against me, I ended up banning English, and I was also picking maps where those civs wouldn't be great, so he played 4 different civs against me. But against Marine Lord, he played English 3 times, and Marine Lord on the other side played Abbasid 3 times. So, what do I think about the bans? Well, I think the bans were pretty wrong. Which, again, I'm not hoping that if the bans were different, I would have won or something like that. So, again, the player that deserved to win did win. But I think English and French are probably in the top 3 or top 4 civs. So the fact that they're not banned almost anywhere is, you know, cake W, to put it the best way possible. Mongols were obviously banned on almost every map, and I kind of feel like that Abbasid should probably not be, and Rus should probably not be as banned on many maps as it was, because I think English and French are much better civs right now after the mangonel nerf, because English right now is a top contender for the best civ, because the English relies on heavy infantry, and right now there is no counter for heavy infantry, so English is just very good. It's good early game, it's good, it's decent mid game, and it's probably the best late game. So they kind of slipped through the cracks, you know, and you know, Viper took full advantage of that, and he won. I think the bans were finalized before mangonel nerf. I'm not sure actually, but either way, players knew it was coming, so they voted based off of that either way. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. I think that I really like so all 3 tournaments, as you guys know, have different rules, or 3 rounds. So the first round was only played on open maps, which I thought was pretty cool. We had some super aggressive games. It was fun. Round 2 was probably my least favorite one. I initially thought it was going to be really cool, because we'll be like forced to play certain civs on certain maps, and I think that maybe would have been the case, but last week especially, it just turned into English versus French versus Abbasid, and that's it. Pretty much the whole way, all the matches, because those civs got an indirect buff with the mangonel nerf. So, although Abbasid, I don't think he did too well, but it was picked. So, I initially thought it was a good idea. I thought it would be really fun, you know, to play some of the weaker civs, right? But what it turned out to be is it was kind of like that in the first week, but then second week, because the proper civs weren't banned, it turned into like just meta picks over and over again. And so yeah, it was like off meta, but not really in the end. So like I said, I thought it was going to be a cool round. Probably my least liked one out of the 3 with the specific rules. And going into round 3, I'm going to quickly explain the rules, what my expectations for it are, and at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. So French Pass is not in the map pool, it's replaced by King of the Hill. And basically the way this works, and again, it might suck, but I feel like it's going to be interesting. The way it works is whether you play, let's say you play a best of 3, best of 5, best of 7, it doesn't matter. When you do the draft, let me actually find it for you. It's a lot easier to explain with the draft itself. Here we go. So when you do the draft in this one, you draft civs for that series. So this is, you might be like, okay, so this is the same like, you know, every other tournament. Well, it's a little bit of a twist. So when you start the drafting, I ban 1 civ that opponent can play. He bans 1 civ that I can't play. So by banning the civ for him, you don't need to pick it first, you can pick it last. So for example, you can ban Mongols, and if he doesn't ban Mongols, you can pick the Mongols last and take the 2 civs that are good early on. Now, why is this different? Well, once you do the bans, the picks will most likely be in order of I pick 1, then he picks 2, then I pick 4th and 5th, and he picks 6th. So only 3 civs will be picked, even if it's a best of 3, a best of 5, or a best of 7. So the way this is going to work is, if it's a best of 3, you'll just play your 3 civs. If it's a best of 5, you can repeat each civ up to 2 times, but you have to play 3 civs in a row, and then you can do the repeat of a civ. So for example, if you pick English, French, Mongol, if it's a best of 5 and it's a 2-1, you have to play English, French, Mongol in the first 3 games, and then you can repick one of those for game 4 or game 5. And then in a best of 7, you can repick each civ up to 3 times, but again, you have to play all civs first and then start repicking. So I think this is a cool little system. It's like a variation of what usually is done, because right now you can basically deny opponent civs. Beastyqt just said there's no ban apparently. Really? I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. I think having a ban is good. Because it widens the play style and allows for worse civs to be played, but that's just me. So either way, it's going to be like especially in a best of 5 or best of 7, you might not want to take your best civ. You might want to take opponent's best civ first, so that they can't play it for that series. So if my, let's say, Chinese was okay, but I'm playing against the best Chinese player, maybe I'll take Chinese first, so you take it away from them for the whole series. So it's not just for one game, it's for the whole series. So I think that's pretty cool, and I think this is more normal compared to the first two rounds. So I think you gotta play a huge variety of civs. Because, for example, what can happen is if there's no bans, let's say, if I pick first and I pick Delhi, then the opponent can pick, or let's say I pick French, right? Because French is really good right now. The opponent can then pick Mongols and Delhi, right? So that's an issue, right? Because then they have 2 really strong civs. So there's going to be a lot of like picking specifically what your opponent is good at while balancing it with what you're good at. And maybe if you're like a Abbasid specialist, but you know the opponent doesn't play it, maybe you just don't pick it until the end because you know that they're not going to pick it, or they might, right? Who knows? So there's going to be a lot of mind games involved, a lot of countering, I think, and a lot of people are going to try to kind of pick their best civs, but also, you know, try to take something a little from their opponent. Apparently the brackets are out as well, by the way. I didn't even know this. This is not scripted content. I had no idea that they're out. I'm trying to find myself, but I don't see myself. Am I blind? Oh, there we go. All right, so the brackets are out. There I am. So Marine Lord is on the top side of the bracket with Leenock and Lucifron. I'm going to just look at the top players. I'm not going to do predictions for the whole bracket. I'll do like, just check which players are from the top 10 are there. So Marine Lord has Leenock, Lucifron on his side of the bracket. Vortex is right here as well. The Muslim is here. So that's going to be an interesting bracket. On the bottom side, we got Viper and Mista. Round 1. So Mista wasn't able to play due to his work that he had. And round 3 is seeded based on the points in these rounds. And because Mista has 0 points, he's facing off against Viper, which I'm not sure if Viper has the most. Oh no, Viper has the 2nd most points. So yeah, Viper Mista round 1. If Mista plays, we'll see. Then there's Puppy Paw right here. I might miss someone. If I miss someone, I'm not trying to skip you on purpose. So yeah, we have like, what did I say? We have Viper. We got B as well here. We got Puppy Paw. And then on the bottom side of the bracket, we got me, we got Recon, we got Wham, We got Snoopa in there. We got Casva in there. We got Sword Up. We'll see. Sword Up did really well in the round 1. Not so well in the round 2. So I think if he actually does well in round 3, he has a good chance of making it. But I'm not actually sure. I'm going to have to check. I mean, I'm pretty happy with my bracket. I should be able to do well. I don't know how well I'll be able to do. So potential rematch with Viper versus me if he advances, if we beat Papipo and Wham. But if you look at the overview, okay, so these are the points. So top 8 players qualify. So these are the guys that still have the chance to not make it. Vortex is like very, very, very likely to make it. As long as I think he gets like even 13 to 16, he should qualify with like 105 points. The Muslim has to, I would say, probably get at least top 9 to 12 or top 8 because he's at 65 points. Wham, same thing. Like these guys, I would say Vortex is pretty much secured unless he completely fails in like first rounds. But these guys, it's all up in the air. Like if any of these guys plays really bad and just bombs out of the tournament super quick, they're not going to be qualified. And obviously there's you know, top 8 only, but there's 10 potential players that have really good chance of making it. Like I said, sort of is right here. So if he has a good run, he can make it. He would need probably a top 8 at least, and then one of these players to not do well. Recon can also make it, Hut can make it, like a lot of players can make it. Any of these guys, if they like get top 3, 4, will get enough points to possibly qualify. So there's a lot on the line, I think, for a lot of these guys. Even the guys here, like if they manage to get a first or second, they can still make it. And also the prize pool goes all the way to top 40, so any point they can get, you know, is good. They'll get some cash, they'll get some money, so that's pretty good. And it's going to be interesting to see which one of these guys actually makes it. It all depends who's playing who and who can potentially make it, which I think is going to be pretty interesting to see. People fighting for that juicy top 8. Oh, B and Papipo are going to face very early. Okay, so this is probably the most impactful, I would say, from the top 10. Because Papipo and B are very close to one another, so whoever knocks each other down in the loser's bracket here, I think at this point loser's bracket is still best of 1. So if that player loses the best of 1, they're probably not qualified. So that should be a lot of fun. That should be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, Lucifer and Lenok also are meeting very early. So there's a pretty good chance that Lenok or Lucifron and Papipo or B not making it if they lose instantly in the loser's bracket. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm pretty excited for the round 3. I think it's going to be a lot of fun being able to play all civs again. Like I said, off meta, not my favorite thing. Not only because of the civ bans and all that, but because it was very hard to practice on the ladder. Like I would have to not play certain civs on certain maps, right, to practice, but then I would meet a civ that is not playable on that map just because that player is not in the tournament, right? So they don't care. So I was just practicing like against Delhi on some map where Delhi was banned for me in the tournament. So I think round 3 is going to be a lot better. It's going to be exciting. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.